Hello, good morning. In a series of lectures on soft skills, today we are going to talk about personality development, and we will see how important is personality in our everyday dealings, both at job as well as in our lives. Sometimes or the other, you might have come across the word personality. You might have heard it from different people using the word personality and at different occasions. You might often be curious to know what actually is personality. The other day, when you saw somebody at the airport and you could see so many people waiting to greet him with bouquets in their hands, and then suddenly somebody said, "What a great personality." You started thinking, what made this person a great personality? The person was quite handsome, he had a well-built structure, he had good looks, he also was wearing a good dress. But then you could never conclude what actually made him so important and so recognized that he was called a great personality. The general impression among people about personality is someone having a good physical structure, somebody wearing a good dress, somebody having a very good communication skills. But then, are these really the symbols of having a good personality? These are actually the outward features. You may often find a person looking so handsome and you may call him a good personality, but unless and until you know what makes somebody a good personality, your judgment about him or her would be wrong. What actually is personality? Today we will discuss what are the components that can make personality. We shall be discussing at least two theories of how personality is made. But let us try to understand how the word personality came into being. The word personality derives from the Latin word that is persona, and which means mask. Everyone you will find wears a mask. You may find a person having a very good features, but yet he may not have a very good personality. One may wear a very good dress, yet he cannot be called a person having a good personality. There are certain other features, there are certain other qualities that can make somebody a good personality. Personality can refer to a set of qualities that make an individual look distinct from others. On many occasions, you might have found a person appearing to be very happy and you may call him to be one having a good personality. But since you do not know about his qualities, it would rather be an early judgment to term that person as a good personality. Personality actually comprises a set of emotional qualities, attitudes, values, beliefs, communication skills, ways of thinking and behavior. Since behavior is a part of personality, we shall be discussing how personality is constituted and how a person, the way he behaves or the way he acts in certain situation warranties and guarantees himself to be called a good personality. But there are certain qualities that a person should have when we can classify him to be a person having a good personality. A positive attitude, a set of values that he often adheres to, beliefs, motivations, desires and overall feelings. So when you come across these values, we cannot find these values written on the face of a person. Personality thus is an inside thing. You will find no two people, even though they may look identical, yet they may not be exactly alike. Even though two people wear the same dress, but their mindsets can be different. There are persons who may appear very gruff, very rough, but the inside of the person may have an ocean or a fountain of kindness. Let us here be reminded of what Shakespeare in one of his famous plays says, "One may smile and be a villain." Meaning thereby, if you find a person smiling, you may consider him to be very cheerful, but the inside of the person may be different. He might be having a very different design. He may be very cruel, though he might appear to be very kind from outside. Hence, when we talk about personality, it is always better to think about what are the qualities that make a good personalities. How is personality constituted? In this regard, let us talk about two theories, as I said earlier. But before that, let us try to understand, does personality make a difference? What actually is the significance of having a good personality? Because both in life as well as at the workplace, you will come across people having different mindset, different beliefs, different attitudes, different habits, different ways of thinking, different emotions, different feelings. And while you interact with them, you may never know how they will react, since you have to deal with different individuals who come from different backgrounds and who have different cultural faiths, and with whom you have to work sometimes throughout your job or throughout your career. It actually becomes pertinent to understand his mindset, though it is a very difficult exercise. It's a very difficult task to understand a person, yet certain theories can tell you why a person, you often have a question, why a person reacted that way the other day, why did he react so differently, though he was never found to be so harsh. In order to enhance your career prospects, in order to climb the ladder of success, while you interact with people, you have to understand their mindset and their personality. Personality actually helps you cultivate flexibility. At the workplace, you will find things become different on different occasions, and you will find, since we are living in an age where things change fast, the way people react to it, and sometimes if you are pursuing a faith, or if you are having an opinion or a sort of attitude that is rigid, you will find it becomes very difficult to survive. Hence, you have to survive, so you have to cultivate flexibility, persuasion, compassion, and diplomacy. And all these you will be able to have only when you can understand what makes a personality, what are the different layers in human mind that actually prompt us to think differently on different occasions. Personality also helps you to ensure competence in professional life. You may at times find people you are working with, they often climb the ladder of success so easily. Their ways, their behavior, their action, and their reaction in a particular situation, they actually make them win so easily. Why is it so? Let us try to understand through a theory of personality. And in this respect, let us first talk about one of the greatest philosophers and one of the greatest psychologists named Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, who was one of the formidable as well as controversial figures in terms of psychology. We are going to discuss the theory given by Freud, because behavior is actually the science Behavior is actually the result of a science that can be studied in psychology, and psychology is the science of behavior. Sigmund Freud proposes three major systems of personality. Our personality comprises id, the ego, and the superego. You will find what Freud says is that these three layers, which actually he calls, later he calls that people at times react in an unconscious state, and that is why every individual has three major systems, and personality is constituted by these three systems. The first among them is id, the second is the ego, and the third is the superego. Whenever you do any act, whenever you do any task, whenever you are going to take any decision, you actually have to cross through these three phases. And in every individual, these three pages have an important role to play. Now first let us discuss id. What actually is id? Id is actually the reservoir of all knowledge. All of us, when we are born, we actually are born with some traits, and these traits are actually from the psychology itself. Id is actually a true psychic reality. Id is the matrix under which the ego and the superego, they also function. You will often find that id is actually a sort of subjective realization. It is full of emotions. You want to do something and you want it by all means. This actually is the function of the id. And when the id has a tendency that it cannot tolerate any tension, it is actually a world of subjective experience. It operates through a pleasure principle, and this pleasure principle, when you want to attain something through id, you will find it actually does not distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. It actually acts according to the pleasure principle, and for this pleasure principle it takes two actions. The one action is that of reflex. So when you find that you are in a position when you cannot bear the tension and you are in an embarrassing situation, you suddenly take a sort of relief, and that relief is done either through the natural processes of sneezing or blinking. In order that once you relieve this tension, the organism actually wants to return to its natural self. So, and the second action is the primary action, that is wish fulfillment. And this wish fulfillment sometimes or the other, as Freud says later, that our repressed emotions, they appear in the form of dreams. In his famous book Interpretation of Dreams, he says all our suppressed and repressed emotions, they actually appear in our dreams, and this is called wish fulfillment. Organism, but then simply having an image, suppose you actually want food, and this food, what you want to do is you actually want to have a sort of wish fulfillment, and for that you actually make a sort of image. For example, a hungry person may think of the image of food, but then that is not in reality, that is actually subjective. But since this realization has to be made, and then comes the role of the ego. Ego actually is the executive of the id, and what ego does is, when the organism requires appropriate transactions with the objective world, the ego starts functioning, and the ego differentiates between memory and image. It believes in realization. It actually will think about this wish fulfillment in the real terms, in the practical terms, and for that it will obey the reality principle, and while it obeys the reality principle, it actually thinks how this has to be acquired, how food has to be sought. At the same time, it mediates between instinctual requirements of the organism and conditions of the surrounding environment. At times, the search for the food may actually be deterred because of the external objects, because of the external situations, and hence we can say that Id, which actually believes that it simply wants to have a sort of wish fulfillment, but in order that this wish fulfillment has to be realized, the ego comes ahead, and when the ego comes ahead, the ego has to think whether it is painful or it is pleasurable. So, when such a distinction is made, then comes the significance of the third layer, and that is the super ego, which is actually called the moral agency. When we talk about the reality principle, this reality principle asks whether the experience of having the food, or for that matter any other instinct, is true or false, while the pleasure principle seeks to know whether the experience is painful or pleasurable. Ego, as said earlier, is the executive of the personality, an organized portion. It is actually the organized portion of the id. Now, these three, the id, while the id actually relieves the tension by reflex as well as the primary action, the ego tries to realize it through realistic principle, and not only through realistic principle, but also through realistic thinking as to know whether the experience is painful or pleasurable. And then we come to the third layer suggested by Freud, which is the super ego. The super ego is the moral guardian. It is the moral guardian. It actually is the internal representative of the good and the evil. We often find there are certain things that are imposed on us right from our birth. To do an act, to commit an act, and we think of the consequences. And while we are living under the care of our parents, we often are imposed upon certain rights and wrongs. And the superego is considered to be the ideal situation rather than the real. Most of the time, our minds are patterned in such a manner that we often think of the ideal, and we try to withstand, we try to restrict ourselves from committing an error or from doing something that is wrong. The superego strives for perfection rather than pleasure, while we found that the id believed in the pleasure principle and the ego believed in the realistic principle through realistic thinking. The superego actually believes in perfection. As we said earlier, the difference between the right and the wrong, it opposes both the id as well as the ego. While we are discussing the three layers, namely id, ego and superego, we find that the superego inhibits or stops, withstands the impulses that the ego functions. The ego tells us to look for the food, but the superego actually wants us, guards us, because it is the moral guardian, and it persuades the ego to substitute moralistic goals for realistic goals. Perfection, which since right from the birth we are experiencing. When we are a child, we are actually learning certain habits. As we will say later, the child is the father of the man. Certain habits that are instilled in us, they continue till long. But then when you are a working professional, when you are an employee and you have to deal with people having different mindsets, you actually allow your super ego when you have to decide whether an action would be right or wrong. So the major function of the super ego is to persuade the ego to pursue moralistic goals for realistic goals, and finally look for a sort of perfection, look for a sort of satisfaction. Now, when our personality is developed right from the beginning, we can always say that id is actually a psychological force, ego is a biological, and finally the super ego is a moralistic force. The child is the father of the man suggests that all these habits, all sorts of acts that we learn in our childhood, they actually continue till long. You will find many people saying that human nature does not change. Somebody having developed certain habits find it very hard to control, and hence the child is the father of the man. These stages of a person's life right from his birth to death are actually formed by the social influences. You come across different social context, you come across different challenges, and there you will find the way you react that actually determines how you have been trained, how you have been trained in a psychological way, and then your physical growth and your psychological growth. Sometimes it is found that while the child is growing physically, maybe that his psychological growth is thwarted. Many people having very sad experiences in their lives, they often find that their psychological growth has been thwarted. You come across several examples where people, if they might have come across some very sad circumstances in their beginning, they actually in the days to come appear to be introvert. Sometimes they become very pessimistic, sometimes they are full of depression, and sometimes they become very negative. All these actually have a sort of influence, and all these are because of the psychological conditioning that we come across when we think about the development of our personality. Here, though, what Freud said about personality and the sort of layers that he suggested and the systems that he suggested, for a long time it continued, but then several theorists came in between, and many of them even opposed the theories proposed by Freud. One of them, named Alfred Adler's theory, which appears very relevant in the present day context. We can also look into what Adler said and what were the differences between the propositions made by Freud as well as Alfred Adler. Now, Adler believed that humans primarily are social creature and not sexual. Humans can improve themselves through different stages. It is not actually that by the experience of the past their personality is made, rather their personality is actually a summum bonum of the expectations of the future, and for that he suggested different ways. Alfred Adler, right from his birth, was very clumsy looking, he was not attractive, and he had also developed some disease. At a certain point of time, his father was told that you have lost your boy. But then Adler, since he was a medical practitioner and during the First World War he was actually a doctor and he served many patients as well, he developed a theory by which he said that humans can change themselves, and it is not the sex but the society which is more important. Humans are motivated by social interest, and it is the social interest that actually has a major influence of human behavior, and for that he said, he suggested fictional finalism. And by this fictional finalism, he said, say for example, the propositions like honesty is the best policy, the end justifies the means, and those who are virtuous, for them it is heaven as the resort, and those who are the sinners, for them it is actually the hell. In such conditioning, Alfred Adler devoted himself to improving himself, and what he said was that he can, or humans can, change themselves, they can transform themselves through certain ways, and the first one of them was the fictional finalism. There are certain hypotheses, and we cannot testify these hypotheses, but we can actually wait for, and while we wait, we are aware, because it actually tells us what is right and what is wrong. All humans have to strive for superiority, and in this way, when he talked about superiority, what he said is that there are some people who might have some shortcomings, who might be suffering, and but then he can improve himself throughout their lives. Through different occasions, man learns, and man can strive for superiority, sometimes through his intellect, sometimes through his intelligence, sometimes through other means. Every human being comes across and has some sort of inferiority feelings which he actually wants to compensate. We often find that we try to have a sort of identification. Every human being tries to imitate. Freud doesn't use the word imitation, rather he uses the word identification. He identifies. Of course, everything cannot be imitated, everything cannot be identified, but there are certain qualities that we are lacking in, we try to compensate for that. And then every human being's style of life is different, and in order to make himself distinct and different, as Alfred Adler had focused more upon the individual psychology, and that is why what he said is, through inferiority complex, the man actually makes a sort of aggression, the man actually progresses. It is not the pleasure that is important, rather it is the perfection that matters. Fictions allow human beings to deal more effectively with reality, and they can be dispensed with when their usefulness has appeared. Both men and women, they actually indulge in masculine protest, because all of us are power seekers by nature. And then masculinity and a masculine protest is what both men and women, they are most of the time worried about. Everyone wants some amount of power, and it is the power that actually prompts him to progress further in his life. Superiority is striving for perfection. We have found, you might have come across the news item where you can think about why inferiority complex prompts a person to compensate for him, and one of the burning examples is the case of Mariyappan Thangavelu, the 21-year boy who won a gold in the Paralympics. And you might be knowing that he had already damaged one of his legs in the prime of his life, but then it was a sort of inferiority complex in him that actually prompted him to do something more, and then he compensated it. Compensation for the weakness by strengthening through some training sessions and all. Incompleteness is actually a great driving force. So when we talk about personality and we talk about the formation of the personality, we actually should take into consideration that there might be shortcomings, there might be differences, there might be situations which actually hamper our growth, but as humans, all of us can come out of it, all of us can strive, all of us can proceed for getting some sort of perfection in our life. Everyone's life is different. No two people, as I said in the beginning, are alike, and everyone's style is different. La style, la man. The style is the man, and in order to make yourself distinct, you should always try to have a different style through which you can avoid situations that actually hamper your growth, and you can fit yourself in a pattern which can make you socially useful type by making yourself a creative self. Dear friends, you should all realize that life is full of opportunities. Life is full of people. Whether you are working in an organization or you are in your home, the way you interact with people, the way you deal with your people, that totally depends upon your understanding of others' personality. This actually will help you analyze them and take proper action in a proper way, which can really bring laurels to you and to others. Thank you very much.